closed. Yes, it was a green expedition.
Hi. I had a note in my box. You wanted to see me?
Yeah, come on in. Have a seat.
Traffic is getting heavier, and schedules are usually tight. Tempers can flare as people make fundamental driving errors. To many people, it seems that the only way to meet commitments and make efficient use of driving time is to keep the space in front of them to a minimum. Some view this small moving space as a defense mechanism, a way to cut their on-road time while simultaneously keeping others from continuously cutting them off. Educated drivers, however, usually see it another way. Sysstem Driver Improvement Institute is in the business of educating drivers, and few driving topics are more important than following distance. As with just about any driving situation, Sysstem's 5 keys can be of tremendous value to you as you adjust to the changing traffic environment and make your decisions about your place in traffic. The keys are flexible tools that will help you in any vehicle you drive and in any driving situation that you may encounter. Key 1 is aim high in steering. This key helps drivers elevate their eyes to see important information developing 15 or more seconds up the road. Key number 2 is get the big picture. Now this is an awareness key. When you have the big picture, you are aware of your total traffic surroundings. Now a third key is keep your eyes moving. Good eye activity is one of the most important elements of safe driving. And when you use key 3, you use your eyes efficiently to evaluate and re-evaluate your changing picture. Key 4 is leave yourself an out. Space around your vehicle is your out should you see a problem developing or when you're surprised by the unexpected. All right, our 5th key is make sure they see you. This key is all about timely communication among people in the traffic picture. Good communication helps people avoid making costly mistakes. To people well versed in the application of the keys, every mile traveled is an opportunity to use one, several, or perhaps all of the keys. Their value in helping people properly place their vehicle in traffic is a case in point. All right, let's get back to Ron and Jason as they begin dealing with the event that centers around the angry call of an offended motorist.
Apparently, at about 2:20 this afternoon, you were on South Border Street following a white Honda. Do you recall that?
I was on that street today, but I don't recall the car you're talking about.
I realize that it would be impossible to remember every car you followed today. And I also know you have a clean driving record with us. But the lady driving the Honda felt that you were severely tailgating.
Hey, I don't tailgate. I'm a safe driver.
Ron, you've been with us for 2 years without a blemish on your record. He must be doing a lot of things right. But ideas about the appropriate following distance often differ from person to person. A good distance for one driver seems too close to another. What do you think is the proper following distance?
Well, I was taught years ago that 2 seconds was about right. I mean, though I don't always think about it, I guess I usually leave that much or more. I mean, I might slip from time to time. I don't know.
Just so I know we're on the same page, how do you measure that distance?
Well, I pick out a fixed reference point, like a parked car or a streetlight pole, and I count the seconds as a vehicle in front of me passes that point until the front end of my vehicle reaches the same point.
Good. I know you don't remember the incident, but from what I've seen, most of these calls don't come in when people stay more than 2 seconds behind the car in front of them. We can't be sure, though, and given your record, I'd like to give you the benefit of the doubt. The lady could have been having a bad day and something she thought you did might have pushed her over the edge.
Well, maybe. What distance do you recommend?
When driving conditions are good, about 4 seconds based on what you drive. You should add another second or two if weather or road conditions deteriorate, or if you're not at your best for any reason.
Look, I'd like to be candid here, but I don't want to lose my job over something I say to you. Now, you have a reputation for being a reasonable person. Can we talk about the real world, off the record?
My job is helping people stay out of harm's way. This discussion's about keeping you safe, not about taking your job from you. Unless you tell me you're breaking a law or flaunting company policy, it'll be between us. I'll record that we talked about the phone call and following distance in this meeting, but that'll be all.
Thanks. Look, nothing personal, but it seems to me that there are three major factors that make your recommendations impractical. Now, first of all, traffic is heavier than ever. It's almost impossible to get and keep that kind of space. Second, I've always got plenty to do. I mean, more often than not, I'm running behind schedule. If I have to stay that far back, I'm going to be asking for people to cut me off all day long. And my final objection is that some people cut in and then slow down. I mean, that's not just irritating, it's time-consuming. Look, the fact is, I can't maintain both that kind of distance and my schedule. I mean, one or the other is going to have to give. At 2 seconds, some cut in, but I keep most of them out. I mean, it seems like a fair compromise. And like you said, I have a good record.
Like many other drivers, Ron apparently sees good following distance as an obstacle to getting his job done. We don't think so, but we'll get to that in just a few minutes. Now, among the things Ron might not have considered is the danger he runs when he deliberately compresses the space between his vehicle and the vehicle he is following. Gina Tedesco will tell us more.
When people follow at 2 seconds or less, they must dedicate a great deal of attention to the vehicle ahead of them. This happens because at a subconscious level, they know that if the vehicle they follow brakes or does anything suddenly, they must be aware of it instantly. Awareness of the vehicle in front is essential, but that car or truck should not be allowed to dominate a driver's visibility. When you use Smith Sysstem's 5 keys to break it down, it's clear that when people choose to follow too closely, their safety is jeopardized. There are a few questions that we ask drivers to help them arrive at their own conclusions. How can a person consistently look far up the road if their eyes are constantly being drawn back and down to the leading vehicle? Is obtaining and maintaining the big picture practical or even possible when most of the driver's attention must be focused directly in front of them? For reasons already mentioned, eye fixation is very common when following distance is inadequate. How can drivers deal with a problem they've not yet seen? The space in front is already compromised, but if it's difficult to move your eyes, wouldn't it also be difficult to consistently check your mirrors and know if outs to the sides and to the rear are in place? If a person's eyes aren't moving properly, how can they know with whom they might need to establish eye contact or communication?
Traffic danger can develop quickly. Solutions can be hard to come by when space in front of the vehicle is minimized. All right, let's check back with Ron and Jason as they talk about the additional driving time Ron believes it will consume if he maintains more following distance.
You mentioned that the 4 or 5 seconds we recommend is impractical because you'll be constantly cut off in traffic. In a typical day, how many times do you think this following distance would encourage other drivers to cut in front of you?
Maybe 40 times a day, if you give them an inch.
Okay. When you are cut off, how much speed do you think you lose as you adjust, and how long do you suppose you have to stay at that reduced speed?
Well, my guess is that I'd have to slow down 2 or 3 miles per hour for 3 or 4 seconds every time it happens. It adds up.
Got it. Let's take the largest numbers you mentioned and see what you're up against mathematically. At 40 miles per hour, you're doing nearly 59 feet per second. If you slow down to 37 miles per hour, you'll be covering almost 54 feet per second. So your adjustment costs you about 5 feet per second. And that reduced speed lasts about 4 seconds or so, you say. So each time you're cut off, it costs you about 20 feet. You think it might happen about 40 times a day, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. If you multiply the 40 events times the 20 feet per occurrence, you get 800 feet, okay? All right, let's put it all together. If you lose 800 feet per day, and you're traveling at, say, 40 miles per hour or 59 feet per second, you're losing just over 13 seconds a day. And that assumes that people stay in your lane. Many don't. Oh, yeah. I heard what you said about people cutting in and slowing down. When that happens, and keep in mind that it happens at 2 seconds as well as 4, you can either be patient until they cut out again, or, if permitted, make a safe lane change and move on by them. As long as you don't exceed the speed limit, you don't have to let the slowest driver in traffic dictate your pace. It may seem at times like you're getting behind schedule, but if it's true, it's not because you're following at a safe distance.
Well, I'll be honest, Jason. I never thought about it that way.
I'm not surprised. Most drivers haven't. The package I hope you'll consider is pretty nice. With more following distance, you get greater awareness, more time, more escape options, and considerably less daily stress than the average uneducated driver will ever experience. That adds up too. What do you think?
I can't argue with the math. 13 seconds isn't much of a sacrifice. I also like the idea of better visibility and awareness. I can even see how leaving more room might reduce stress. To be honest, even if the number of times I was cut off was doubled or tripled, I can afford less than a minute a day to get those results. I'll give it a try.
That's all I can ask.
Some drivers will certainly be more stubborn. The idea of being cut off is aggravating, and we all know people that are competitive and unyielding by nature. Unfortunately today, many injuries and several deaths will occur as a result of these drivers fighting the futile and pointless battle of keeping people out of the space in front of their vehicles. If these people could see the aftermath of their actions, and if they could evaluate their reasoning dispassionately, do you think they could really justify their roles in these tragedies? We think these are questions all drivers should ask themselves the next time they experience the temptation to reduce the margin for error that a safe following distance represents. If you're not already doing it, we encourage you to make good following distance a habit. Having worked with many thousands of drivers in our on-road classes, we are in a good position to say we are confident you will like the outcome. Thanks for watching.